Thanks for listening to Leadership Level Up. I'm Brian Prairie.
And I'm Dr. Jeff Williamson.
I am just starting my leadership journey.
And I've been guiding leaders for 30 years.
Our podcast aims to shine a spotlight on outstanding leaders and provide a platform for them to describe their leadership journey and share the guiding principles that have helped them become great leaders. On today's episode of Leadership Level Up, ONU's women's basketball coach, Lauren Glenn, sits down with Jeff to discuss the importance of leading her athletes on and off the court, as well as her mentor's role in her leadership journey.
Welcome to Leadership Level Up podcast. I'm Jeff Williamson. I'm your host today. We're joined by Lauren Glenn, who's the head women's basketball coach at Olivet Nazarene University. We're really happy to have you here with us, Lauren. Thanks for coming in today.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me. It's a privilege. So thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, glad to be here. We were talking previously. I said we started our list of people we wanted to invite to be on the podcast, and you've been on our hit list, even though you didn't know it until recently. So excited to have you talk to us about your experiences leading students, leading women in the case of the basketball team, some of the key concepts that you, I know, pour into them and invest in them far beyond just playing the game. So I'm excited for our listeners to have a chance to learn a little bit more about that and how you approach coaching and leadership.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah. So we were talking earlier about, you had mentioned on a pregame interview that I saw last week that there are three things that the players can control, and you talk to them a lot about that. Tell us a little bit more about what those are and how that plays out in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talk a lot about controllables. There's a lot of things in the game and in life that we can't control. And so just talking about and thinking about what are those three concepts, which we go back to time and time again, that we can control and that we can make an effort into. And so those are focus, attitude, and effort. And so those are the three things that we talk about often as pieces to being able to be successful. And we joked even the week before Thanksgiving we're talking about pumpkin pie and what are the ingredients that make a great pumpkin pie. And so we were joking that focus, attitude, and effort are ingredients to helping us to be successful. If we can master those things that are controllable, then we can make it a great practice or a great day or whatever that looks like.
And I really like that when I heard you mention that, because it is so transferable. It's not just how do I respond in a game situation or practice or whatever. It's like, how do I respond to a new leader in the workplace, someone who is my new boss maybe, or my new supervisor. And when someone may think, well, I wish this was going differently, or I don't agree with them, it's like, well, there's three things that they can control. And I think they'll be coming back to that as they are in their careers. And I'm sure some of the players that have graduated and moved on to careers, they've got those things in their mind.
I hope so. I mean, quite honestly, they're great reminders for myself too. And we get in life caught up in some different things. So, okay, what can I actually control?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, for sure. So when we talk about leadership and developing other people, I know none of us gets this far without other people who've seen something in us or invested in us and said, man, I love that about you, or that's a great trait that you have. Who would be some people maybe that come to mind when you think about mentors or leaders that have influenced you over the years?
A number of people come to mind. I think I first have to start just with my parents. Obviously, the core of who raised me and who saw something in me before I ever saw something in myself. And obviously those daily interactions with me now being a parent, I can see how crucial that is to helping somebody grow. So I've got to say them first and foremost to help to shape me. And then I think, when we think about basketball in the coaching world, just a couple of my high school coaches who saw something in me and that you didn't see in yourself. And those are moments I think that just transcend your lifetime. And it's like, wow, I didn't even know I could do that. And so I think that's probably where a lot of those leadership moments for me started. And so a couple of my high school coaches that come to mind as being just early influences in that. And then one of those two who gave me one of my first college jobs. And so one of my high school coaches, Tom Sutherland at the time, who gave me my first college job at a community college and hired me to do that. And so he made a big impact on me and just how to treat people and how to show belief in other people. And so made a big impact on me on high school and then also as I started my professional career. And then Doug Porter, who was the previous head coach at Olivet, obviously had to bring him up, gave me my first real start at the 4-year level, and has continued to be a mentor in my life. From the coaching side of things, the strategy side of things, the motivation side of things. And so continue to keep in touch with him just on a weekly basis. And he's definitely poured into me quite a bit.
I thought he might come up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Talking about that question.
Yeah.
And that's so key too. And I think those people all at different times get represented in how you probably handle things. I mean, you're your own person, obviously, but at the same time, there are phrases maybe or moments where you're like, if you maybe don't stop to think about it, but it's like, I learned that from Coach Porter. I learned that from Coach Sutherland. And then we kind of bring those things with us.
Certainly. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think as I started even in the college coaching world, you mimic and emulate what you saw, and then you make it your own as you learn more about yourself and what things fit your belief system and who you are and your strengths as a person. And so for sure, emulating a lot of those things and a lot of those phrases that I learned from him and both leaders, I would say, and then transcending to see how that fits into my leadership style.
Right. And then I would want to talk some too also about the time you've been at Olivet, because that's been a good run here for, I think, over 10 years now. Going back to is that going back to your GA days I was trying
to do the math on this the other day, right? So somebody's asking me, I'm like, I think it's 16 years this is my 16th year, I think, at Olivet.
And that's total of you were doing your master's, you were a grad assistant coach and then an assistant. And then when Coach Porter moved on, you became the head coach.
Exactly. So I think it's my 11th year head coaching, if I can remember the math correctly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. Good. Well, when we think about leaders and who invest in us, and then again, you're investing in students and players now in the Olivet program. What are some things that you look at and think, I'm really proud of this, or I'm really proud of that, or the way the players respond in different situations? What are some things that may not even be wins and losses that you're just like, it means a lot to me when I see that happen with somebody I've invested in?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one thing I love about coaching college basketball is you see somebody that comes in as a freshman, and while they're the same person when they leave, they've definitely transformed and changed. Sure. And so to be able to walk alongside them over that pivotal part of their life, those 4 years. So to go back to your question of some things, maybe I would say I'm proud of her that are just kind of winning plays in life. I think those are going back to just even our values as a team. And I think, okay, I see this person having grown in their integrity, having grown in their grit, having grown in their view of having a team first mindset, not only on the team, but in life. They're going out and say, hey, I noticed this person, I had a self-awareness, now I noticed that person needed a little help. I got the door for them. I reached out, or I sent them a thank you, or whatever that looks like. So that over those 4 years, I think is huge. How they respond and grow as leaders amongst their teammates. They start, really needing a lot of investing in as freshmen, and then they leave in their junior and senior year. You see them, hey, can I help drive you to get your books? Let me go buy you lunch. I see that this has been a tough week for you. And so seeing those selfless moments, in turn, making an impact on somebody else are just so huge.
Yeah, well, you've been here for now, I think you said 16 years, a lot of relationships, a lot of investment in other people. Watch them graduate, watch them get married, and then have an opportunity to sit there and see them at that stage in their life. That's the beautiful thing. That's even bigger than a game or even their college years, is just like you get to be a part of their life.
Absolutely. And I think that those are some of the most rewarding things, right? You get to see them making an impact now in whatever their corner of the world is. And that's pretty powerful.
Sure is. Yeah. Well, I know too, you're a pretty avid reader. And you're usually working on something good. So you're one of the people that I will often say, hey, what have you read lately? And we kind of trade titles. So you have anything for me to say, well, a couple things I read this year?
Yeah. Well, you're going to laugh at me when I say this, because usually we are exchanging book titles, pretty frequently. And I got to tell you, the top of my list right now is mom books.
True.
Mom books and mom articles. So
that's
a totally different situation now. I think the last leadership book that I read, and I'm spacing on the name right now, but it's a Craig Rochelle book, and it was just talking about like leading with it, I think might be the name, or something along those lines, and having the it factor, and
what that is,
and so that was pretty cool. But I love to read. This has been a little different time in my life. I'm reading a lot of mom articles.
True.
Yeah.
In our next conversation, we'll have to talk a little bit more about Nash, your little boy, and Justin, your husband. So that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Your content's shifted a little bit in the last year because he's almost a year old.
Yep,
that's really cool. So one other thing before we wrap up, you've talked about mentors and people that inspired you and what you try to do with your team. Just in general, when it comes to motivation, beyond the three things they control that you talked about, what are some ways that you try to motivate your team?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it is trying to just be in tune with where they are. And so do I have a pulse on how they're feeling? Obviously, this week being finals week for us, trying to get a pulse on where's our energy level, what do we have the ability to retain, and how can I help them be at their very best? So that's always a question I'm asking myself, is how can I help them be at their very best? So here's an example of that, Jeff. The other day in practice, we probably really need some energy and connectedness. And so I say, hey, the emphasis today is get 200 positive touches. And they blew it out of the water. I said, Coach, at the end of practice, I said, how many did you get? And they said, well, we ramped it up to 400. We said we each got to get 400. So I went around the circle, and hey, I got 410, 415.
What did those look like?
And so lots of high fives, lots of positive, like just tap on the shoulder, on the back, a fist bump, a lot of
like,
that.
I see you and you matter to me. Right.
Exactly. And the energy in the gym was just phenomenal. We had a great practice.
Hit the switch.
So that would be one example, is I felt like we needed more energy. So we look for that. But constantly I'm thinking about three things, like mastery, autonomy, and purpose. So how can I bring things to the table in practice to help them feel like they are mastering things and getting better? And can they see concrete improvement? And if they can do that and they feel like they're getting better and they see it. Autonomy, I give them choices. You want to do this drill or this drill? You choose. And that gives internal motivation. And then purpose, helping them to see the why behind their doing something. Why does this matter? How does this carry over into life? How does this drill or this emphasis carry over not just to this practice, but the game, to you being a future mom or wife one day? And I think those things are internally really motivating.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Those are some nuggets that I think people, when they listen to this, they're going to be writing some of those down and back it up and make sure they capture all those. That is really some good stuff. Man, I really appreciate you coming in today and joining us. We'll definitely have a future conversation, and I'll look forward to that. Thanks again, Coach Laura and Glenn.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jeff. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Leadership Level Up. Please subscribe so you don't miss future conversations with great leaders.
Also, be sure to follow Converge on LinkedIn, Facebook, and at Converge Group LLC on Instagram.